Approximately 30 years ago, around this time of year, and in this same city, I started my first clinical rotation as a third-year medical student. Walking into the surgery scrub room, I stood next to the surgeon that I was assigned to. Big, tall guy. I started to scrub. I introduced myself, and he looked at me and said, "Those skinny little arms, they're not going to be able to hold any kind of a retractor." And then he just went back to scrubbing and never said another word to me. A week later, I'm in the same scrub room with the same surgeon. This time, I introduced myself again, and I said, "Dr. Thorpe Jonasson, you said last week that I had no muscle. I want you to know I have been working out. Feel that." Woo! Later, as an intern, I often got the comments, "Nurse, could you turn up my television? You're too young. Would you send in the real doctor?" At one point, my patients were getting double the x-rays and double the lab tests. Why? Because my resident didn't think I was competent enough, so that he came around and wrote orders on my patients when I had already done so. Being taken into the chief resident's office, we had a discussion, and I told him then, "You, my resident, will not write an order on my patient ever again. If you feel that something needs to be done, you will tell me, but never again will I have a patient get two things done because you hadn't checked to see that it had already been ordered." Again, as an attending, sitting next to another physician, we were having a discussion about the patient that we were both caring for. He did not feel that my diagnosis was correct. And in his uppity way, he looked over at me, looked down his nose, and said, "And where did you go to medical school?" Luckily, I could say, "Cornell, and what about you?" He was not at a school that was in the top 5. Woo-hoo! And I tell these stories thinking that this is part of my resiliency. But recently, I was in a clinic working with our students. We made a decision about a patient. We diagnosed her with her hypothyroidism, started her on medication. The student went off, wrote the orders, and a couple minutes later came back. "The pharmacist doesn't agree with you." So I go to talk to the pharmacist, and she says, "We never start medicine that way." So we had a conversation, a very polite conversation, and I explained my rationale. She still didn't quite believe me. So I looked it up, brought it back, showed her in writing so that she would fill the prescription at the dose that I had asked for. Inside, I bristled. I was pissed. My first thought was, "You never actually do start a medication because you're not the one that's writing the order." But I didn't say that. Okay. But I thought later, aren't I supposed to be encouraging dialogue? Aren't we supposed to be a multidisciplinary team? And would she have questioned me if I was not 5 feet tall and a woman? I don't know. But I do know that I was a little bit pissed. And I started to think of all of those times that I was considered my comebacks as resiliency. Was it perhaps resentment. But I say going forward, resilient, resentment, or is it a revolution?
Woo-hoo!